which is good. I'd like the minutes to reflect that the shortest ZBA meeting ever will be with me as chairman. I hope. Sure.
We hope too.
All right, this is the regular, are we ready?
Yep.
Yeah? So this is the regularly scheduled Town of Nantucket Board of Appeals meeting Thursday, March 12th, 2015. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended multiple times?
I'll make that motion.
Sarah makes the motion. Who wants to second that one? Jeff seconds it. Okay, so any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hold on. Okay, so, approval of the minutes, February 12th and February 18th. I read them, they looked okay to me. Everybody else? So somebody want to make a motion in that effect?
Motion.
Mark? Okay, Mark and Karen. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so everything's been continued till we get to, we were going to hear from, withdrawal, continue, it all looks the same. So why don't we, no one's talking about the first few continuances. We're on to 12:15, Robert Reiskin. He would like to withdraw without prejudice.
I don't wish to talk about it, I just want to continue.
No, we're on the withdrawal.
No, this is for Reiskin. She's
Reiskin.
not on Reiskin.
I know, but I'm talking about Reiskin.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's no one here to represent him.
Right. But I certainly have no problem with the withdrawal without
Motion.
prejudice. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so now we're on to 10:15, William F. Hunter, trustee, 47 Monomoy, Ms. Alger for the applicant, but she's not really speaking.
I don't wish to speak, I don't want to open it, I would just like to continue.
All right. I don't have a problem with that, Eleanor. Why did you have an issue with the notion of continuance, or did I?
No, I did not have an issue. It was late last night, just after reposting a revised packet that I got a notification from her. And I had an email from one of the board members with some questions about this submission.
She's forum shopping.
I am not for it. I assure you I am not.
She probably is, but that's within her rights. I mean, we don't hold that
I
against
was
you.
actually regretting not being able to go forward today on a short agenda, but such was not to be the case.
Motion to continue.
Okay, this was here before,
And I withdrew it,
and you withdrew it.
and I've now refiled it.
Okay.
Expect better things to happen to me.
I don't see the net benefit for continuing. You know, sometimes these commercial things we continue ad nauseum, and the applicant continues to operate, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. So I don't have a problem with it. Anybody else? No. All those in, so somebody make a motion.
Motion.
Kieran
Continue
second.
to next.
Were you here? Tori, were you here to speak to this?
No,
Okay, so it's continued to the next regularly scheduled meeting, which, just out of curiosity, when is that meeting?
April 9th.
Okay, I think I'm here. So, any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Christina Wickstead and Desmond Wickstead. This is 1115, 12 Tomahawk Road for the applicant, Ms. Wilson. Go ahead, Ms.
Victoria
Sullivan.
Ewing. Basically, as you read, we've got a landscaping business looking for one of the new subdivided lots out at the Coffin off Arrowhead Drive, Tomahawk. The plan has been submitted. Have you guys been able to see that?
Yep.
Any
We have
questions?
Approved by the HDC yet, Tori?
No, headed there next.
Okay. So what are the, just,
It's
Help
a
me
small
out.
shed, 80 square feet at the very front, a larger shed at 192 square feet behind that, and then the final building will be 432 square feet, and it's going to be like a 1.5-story barn-type structure.
And refresh my memory, why do you have to be here if it's all commercial? Doesn't this meet
It's an
zoning?
industrial, right?
Yeah.
CI zone?
RC2, they're applying
Oh.
RC2 free.
Oh,
So
they're applying under the
you, like
RC2
everyone
freeze.
else, wants to, and so you don't have to have the resident, what are we doing with these? The residential component doesn't have to be dealt
It
with
doesn't
at
have
this
to be
point.
applied.
Okay.
They're not asking for it. It
Right.
can't be if it's a mixed-use situation, which this is not.
Got you. Okay. So typically, what do we do with these? There is,
Screening and parking, hours of operation.
yeah. Well, they have screening shown on the plan. They have parking. And are you gonna, it's a landscape business?
Yep. So roughly Monday through Saturday during the day hours.
All right, so what do we normally do, like
7 to 7:30 to 6.
7:30 to 6, 7 to 6, whatever we
That's
typically
for
do?
noisier, tends to be for, warehouse.
Yeah, this is all
Light manufacturing.
industrial.
Well, I mean, the complaints we occasionally get, which are rare, are also the vehicles.
Right,
So,
but this is an almost exclusively industrial area. for the moment. There are some of the warehouses that have residential, they have dwelling units on the second floor.
What have we typically done, 7 to 7 for that area? I don't even remember.
I don't either, but we'll look at it in the decision.
Yeah.
You'll accept what we typically do?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there planned outdoor storage? Is that kosher in that district?
With special permit relief.
Right. Is there planned outdoor storage
For plant materials?
for
Yes.
anything?
Yep. There will be deliveries of plant materials and stuff that will be stored both inside and outside.
I don't think we've done much in that regard. Have we elsewhere, Mark? Do you remember?
No. It's usually indicated on the plan where that storage would take place, but beyond that, if it's screened.
I'm good with it.
I certainly am.
So hours of operation, no manufacturing. It's a landscaping business. Can store plant material, et cetera.
Screening is per plan.
Yeah, screening is per plan. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this? We need more controversy.
I thought you wanted to make this short.
My bad. All right. Is there anybody who wants to make a motion on this one?
I'll make the motion to, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeffrey. You haven't made a motion in a long time.
Motion to approve.
All right.
I will second.
All right, Karen seconds. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. So now we're on to Sachem's Path. I'm going to summarize as best I can. Let me just get through the 76-11 Sachem's Path, Nantucket LLC, 40B, Surfside Road, for the applicant. You, Mr. Singer, can summarize better than I can.
And I'm sure I'm not sitting on this one. So.
No, it's not a function of who sat on it before.
Yeah, because that was my question.
This is basically, correct me if I'm wrong, we're just trying to determine if this is a substantial or an insubstantial change to the comprehensive permit. If for some reason we deemed it substantial, then we'd have to notice it and come back with a meeting, et cetera, et cetera. At this point, this was not noticed to the neighbors, and I'll just give you a little heads up. I don't, I think it's going to turn out to be relatively straightforward, but why don't you summarize, Andrew, and
I'll do that. Thank you. For the record, Andrew Singer, attorney on behalf of the applicant. There's a lot, as you know, we thank you for your continued review of this. There's a lot going on with Sachem's Path, as you know. You've seen it outside, on the ground, and in fact, the reason why you're stuck with me today is that there are several meetings going on today upstairs and at the state level for various tasks that are being ticked off the checklist. The one I'm here before you are these requested technical changes that the state has requested as we're getting the final marketing approvals are being put in place so that the lottery process can start later this month. The actual lottery information session is scheduled for later this month, and if you approve these as insubstantial changes, which is similar to what we were before you last year when we had some additional insubstantial changes, then that will help that process proceed. The changes, it's in Exhibit A that I submitted to you, and there are 5 of them. I'll summarize them really quickly. One, they're very simple. One is changing HAC to the new owner, Satcham's Path Nantucket LLC. The other is reflecting the change in the subsidizing agency. The second and the third, in fact, are regarding the subsidizing agency and the subsidizing program that this is being built under. Number 4 just deals with the fact that clarifies, if you remember, there are units here that are from 80% of affordability up to 150% of the area median income. Number 4, A and B, just clarifies that the units are actually under 80%, 81 to 100%, and 101 to 150%. Those have meaning for the state level. What the state is involved funding-wise with the 100% and lower, the 101 before. You may recall we had 81 to 110, 111 to 150. So it's just modifying those numbers. It doesn't change anything other than clarifies what the state is involved with and not. 4C is an additional finding regarding the CPA funds that has been discussed. Number 5 references the word universal deed rider, and you may recall, some of you from last year, that had been in 3 places in the comp permit. We took them out of 2 places last year, and now we're asking in the one last place where it is to revise it to reference the universal deed rider or other documentation that the state is using now to ensure perpetual affordability. And that is because, in fact, the state has stopped using the UDR for those units that are 100% or below of area median income. So the UDR will be used by the applicant for those 101 to 150% units because there's no state funding with that. With the ones that are state funding, 100 and below, you have to use their new document. So those are the 5 changes. If you're looking at an earlier Exhibit A, there was a different number 5 at that point.
Oh, time out for one second. So go to page 109. That is the second Exhibit A, where 5 is gone and now
right. The
6
new
has
5
become 5. Yeah. So my 109 as I have it.
Yeah, the former number 5 that we'd been trying to work was something that the lenders had suggested. It just got too complicated near the end since that was more substantive. So that was, we withdrew that earlier this week from the request, and we're asking for and I renumbered the number 5 used to be number 6, but it's just that, those changes that I just went over. Oh, the other thing, it was suggested, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you did mention it or Mr. Marchant mentioned it, but someone suggested, since this is the second amendment, let's go ahead and put together a complete amended and restated comprehensive permit. So the whole thing, get the amendment number 1 from last year into it. If you approve these, get these into it. So I took the liberty of preparing a draft of that as I was trying to mix and match things in. I sent it off to Eleanor, the chair, and Mr. Marchant. Obviously not ready to be signed today, but if you agree with these 5 changes that I've mentioned as insubstantial minor changes, then what we're requesting, following up on the suggestion of whoever made it, because it was a good one, is if you vote to approve these as minor changes and then authorize the chair to sign the amended and restated comprehensive permit once Mr. Marchant and everyone's had a chance to look at what I put together, because it's possible I messed up something, when we're merging everything. So with that, if you have any questions that I can answer, I'll be happy to try, and we appreciate your time.
Okay, I give you guys a little insight, too, because I was on a call with Ed Marchant and Kevin McGuire. As you know, Kevin's the new consultant who came for Amendment 1, if you remember. Maybe you were in the audience. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's the one at the state meetings today, so
right.
He couldn't come down.
We sort of went through everything, and the real change that was the stickler or it wasn't a stumbling block. We just needed to understand it better. It was number 5 of the original Exhibit A, which has been eliminated. These seem to be, to all of us, basically clerical / insubstantial, but I'm happy to, if you guys have any specific questions. And then the notion of, Ed Marchand did suggest we get a new comprehensive permit with the 2 amendments, assuming this amendment is approved, into one document, because it becomes a bit of a pain when you're trying to reference it and then you forget to go to the amendment and blah, 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 blah. So this will give us one new document with these changes. My question is, are you going to come back for 5, the financing one?
I asked, at this point, no. I don't think it, I think, now, again, with the numerous checklists that are going on, as you saw you were on that conference call, things are changing all the time at the state level. So, but as far as I know, no at this time. And if it does, for whatever reason, come back, I understand that they were talking, Mr. Chairman, you know this better because you were involved with the process. They were talking with Renee at the Housing Authority, and there were questions about just lining up the approval, so that's why it got a little bit too complex for right now, and it may turn out to be just not necessary at the end of the day.
Yeah, it had to do with putting a mortgage on,
From a public agency
from a
as opposed
public
to
agency,
private.
putting a mortgage on the property, which we were very, careful about not wanting a blanket mortgage on the property. At the end of the day, if it does come back, it was a function of, it would be a public entity whose mandate is public housing, and it would have been subordinated to the construction financing as it went along. So it didn't seem to be a horrible thing, but turned out to not. They're not ready to move forward with that anyway. But the other, just FYIs, if you're interested, I think this was all in here, these various charts and pro formas and whatnot. I mean, in terms of their money sources and whatnot, they still, I think that Phase 1 is pretty much funded. That's correct? But Phase 2 remains a little bit up in the air.
They have to proceed in sequence.
Right.
And so Phase 1, yes, everything's lined up, and that's where now they're working on the marketing and the lottery process. Then they move on to Phase 2.
Yeah, because, again, something else that we were adamant about was you don't proceed until your funding is in place. Kevin's very aware of this. It sounds like everything's in place. Still have to, I think, get a little. The CPC money that they might be getting at this town meeting, some of it is for Phase 1, correct? Right.
Okay.
And some of it would be for Phase 2.
Okay.
So it sounds like they're proceeding apace, and again, the changes to me seemed relatively, definitely insubstantial. So if we're yes, please. Please identify yourself for the tape.
Linda Williams, HCC chairman for the record. We just finished upstairs with Satan's Path with the 40 units. Our first preliminary review of them, because they had to change all of them on the DHCD guidelines and make them smaller. So we just went through all 8 of the primary designs. We've given them some feedback, and I believe within the next couple of weeks they're coming back in with actual applications for Phase 1. And CPC funding is for the full infrastructure. So they'll get the rest of it shortly, but they have a lot, they have what, 900,000 from us already for
Oh,
infrastructure.
I think more than
I think it's more than
It's
that.
more, I believe it's, I don't remember the number, but it was more.
somewhere in there.
That sounds about right.
They've got the money for the infrastructure too, so everything's moving along.
Yep. That's my recollection of the conversations I had with Kevin, and and it seems to be moving forward. They
Oh, absolutely.
tell me they have 400 people on the A list of some sort of shown some interest. Just again to keep you guys in the loop, we went back over the fact that they couldn't start anything until they had the bona fide buyer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and everybody's on board with that. So,
And that's the reason for these changes, so you can get the lottery process in
Right.
place, because you got to do that in order to get the buyers.
yeah, there's a lot of chicken and egg.
Now,
things.
Mr. Singer, you said that the lottery process will take place when? Next month?
The information session
Okay,
is
okay.
going to be later this month. They're doing that no matter what, because you have to get out to the public and announce it. But the lottery process, the formal one, will be hopefully also starting this month. But
And will last for how long? I guess it depends how quickly you get all your interested parties. And
exactly, and all the paperwork gets
Yeah.
processed. I do know they're hoping that they can start construction within, let's see, I think 3 to 4 months after they do the lottery process. So I guess it depends when the people get in. Okay, yeah.
Oh, well, sure. Is there anybody here to speak to Sachem's Path? No. Not that it matters, but their schedule called for starting before the fall, at least the schedule that Kevin gave me, but that's been sort of amended by now.
Well, again, I'm not involved daily on that. My understanding was it
Doesn't
would have been a
matter.
little earlier than the fall, but if they said something upstairs, wasn't at that meeting. But it'll be sometime, let's say, whether it's mid-late summer or fall.
Yeah, they had hoped to break ground in July. I personally thought that was a little ambitious just because of the permitting process, but
Well, you have to complete that no matter what
Right.
and get the people
doesn't really
qualified.
matter, but, okay.
Have you selected the 2 lots that you're going to put your models on?
I don't.
Have they?
I-
Okay.
One of them?
Okay.
And there, I believe that the intent now, last I heard, at the construction meeting, which I attend on a regular basis, is that they're going to just go for one model home at a time.
I suspect if they have enough pent-up demand, they may not even build a model home. They will just go to, I can't remember, how many are in the first phase, 19? or
16.
16. If they had 16 qualified buyers, I assume they'll just rock and roll.
It would be better that way.
And as Eleanor alluded to, she's going to a regular meeting. She's looked through the comprehensive permit to make sure that they're doing the things they need to do in sequence, so seems to be working. So, yeah, if somebody wants to make a motion that we're deeming these insubstantial, we can move forward.
I'll make the motion.
Works for me. Anybody want to second that? Jeff seconds. Okay, any further discussion?
So the intent would be to have a completely new document drafted up, so the amendments are absorbed into that document?
Which we have, but Mr. Singer sent it, I think, yesterday, or,
And I did-
I haven't looked at it.
Oh, that's fine, and Mr. Marchand has neither. For that reason, I did not do an amendment number 2 as we did an amendment number 1 last year. The thinking being is that the amended and
Right.
restated will incorporate everything.
And it'll need to be marked and moved on both documents. Both the proceeding.
It can be at the registry, sure, certainly, and that would be registered or recorded with the registry of deeds, yes.
So, just from a procedural standpoint, we vote today, it's insubstantial. Then, will it just be on my shoulders and yours, Eleanor, to make sure the comprehensive permit, as amended and restated, is correct? Doesn't need to come back here, in other words.
No.
Okay. I'm good with that. I just want to be clear.
And we're happy to, any questions, let Kevin or I know, and we'll,
And in terms of, you're going to have to help me here, in terms of the state deadlines, in terms of, we have to vote on this within 20 days, or blah, 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 we're all good with that, right?
I think so, because we gave a waiver or an extension, I think it was through this week, Eleanor?
Yeah, well, it was so that you could attend the meeting now.
And you could vote, which you voted. I think you're fine, but if you wanted more, we're happy to give it to you. I don't know, it might
That's what I'm
take a
getting
week or so to wrap
Right.
everything up.
I think we're good, though. All right, so the motion's
if
been
need be.
made and seconded. Any further discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's it.
Thank you very much.
29 minutes, that's a record.
Got to make it at least 30.
We need more cases, Eleanor.
Don't we
Come on.
still have a meeting on April 6th? And maybe longer? A lot of zoning changes. Was interesting.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What are you about to adjourn?
Yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of the day.
Come over and rake gravel in my driveway.
I could do that. All right, so Susan, was that a motion to adjourn?
Second that.
Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
I
All righty. That was just almost a waste of time.
That was crazy short.
I'm sorry if you came over. Did you?
You all can keep
Sorry.
in touch.